Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Wow. Folks, I'm having sound problems, but that's okay. How are you, everybody? Come on in, folks. Let me know how the sound is. Oh, wow. There's a delay problem. Hold on, everybody. 1 second. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Behind the Devil's Curtain, Episode 7. Here we go. Lessons in Lycanthropy. Take it away. Come on in, people. Grab a drink. Grab a drink. Sorry about the sound problem at the beginning. There was a little bit of a weird loop around, but you are in the right place. If you're looking for Behind the Devil's Curtain, you're right here. My name is Reverend Cardone, and I've got an awesome episode for you tonight. Before I begin, I want to say this is an interactive show. You can chat right here live. I see there's people coming on in. I got Rick, Darla, Ronnie. We got William. Come on in, everybody. Grab a drink. Happy Friday. Now, Behind the Devil's Curtain, if you're new to this channel, please subscribe and hit the notify bell. This is one of my flagship shows here on my channel, and this is where sleight of hand, forbidden knowledge come together and make real magic. And tonight's episode is on lycanthropy, yes, werewolves. And I'm going to teach you how to turn into one. I am going to give a little bit of a warning tonight. I am actually being dead serious when I talk about turning into a werewolf. Now, if we've got people out there with little kids watching, or if you have mental problems, you might not want to watch this episode. But little kids, you're gonna like this actually. I think you're gonna get it. Because what I'm going to be talking about tonight and teaching, kids already do all the time. For some reason, adults aren't good at it anymore. So, yeah, kids, go ahead and watch it, and you can probably teach your parents something. Right? Amanda, Darla, Ronnie, come on in, grab drinks. We're just getting started. Let me know how the sound is, if there's any problems. If I'm too loud, too quiet. I'm still learning all this tech nonsense. Cool. It's Friday. And what else? Before we start, I'm going to say that two things. A, if you're not a YouTube Premium member, do it, especially if you're on here a lot. I'll be honest, I actually got rid of TV. I don't have any of those paid channels. What do you call it? I don't pay for the channels anymore. I have a DVD player. I have a Blu-ray player. I do have access to downloading movies and stuff. I choose not to at this point. And I literally covered my TV. I have a big old cover over it. When I want to watch a movie, I take the cover off. I will say YouTube, of course I like YouTube. It doesn't eat up my whole day. I have to choose what I want to see. And I'm on here all the time. I work now on YouTube. I'm not just giving the YouTube Red plug because I'm on here. I actually like YouTube Red because I don't have to deal with the commercials. And I don't know about you. I can't stand commercials. So, the other plug I'm going to give is another famous magician has passed. That's 3 in less than a week. Anybody ever seen this book? It's the book I tell everybody to buy when they're taking my magic classes. Mark Wilson's Complete Course in Magic. He passed away this morning, or was it yesterday morning? But we found out today from his son. He's a very influential magician. He's the man, Mark Wilson. Here he is. Bada boom. Mark Wilson is the magician that had the first weekly TV show. So I dedicate tonight's episode to you, Mark. I got to meet you once. I took your lecture, and if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be a good magic teacher. I learned how to teach magic from you. So, cheers, Mark Wilson. Any magicians watching, raise that damn glass, because he really did shape a lot of lives. All right. I'm still, somebody here said Jimmy D. Yeah. Jimmy D is in the house. He's the guy that said, he mentioned werewolves, and I was like, bam, there's an episode. I'm not kidding. I take your suggestions to heart. If somebody throws out an idea like Jimmy did, I will definitely listen and deliver the goods. Everybody watching this show on a regular basis, we all have the same kind of tastes. So throw it out there. This is interactive tonight. If you know something I don't, say it. If I make a mistake or you want to challenge an idea I'm spitting out, throw it in here. That's what we're doing here. I love it. We have a very interactive crew most of the time. So if you're new here, chime in, man. We're all cool here. Yeah, I do, Jimmy. I listen. Thank you. A shout out to my donors. Not everybody donates, and that's fine. I get it. You can just like the channel, and that makes me happier than happy. But here are the donors. I got a lot. I've been doing this show now since early October. And I've gotten enough donations just from like people literally taking that streamlabs.com and going there. I've gotten enough that I bought all new lights, a new microphone, lots of stuff. So, thank you. Okay, yeah. You guys are going to like tonight. I'm really going to dig into this as best I can. It's a lot in a small, an hour or so. So, I'm going to actually start in about 2 seconds. So, literally, get comfy, grab a drink. If you have questions, get ready. Because tonight's episode is called Lessons in Lycanthropy. And here we go. Now, most people come to the idea of werewolves. How? For me, it was old monster movie magazines and seeing pictures of Lon Chaney in the werewolf getup. That's how I first saw it. Right there. There wasn't a famous book like Dracula. No. There was Lon Chaney's The Wolfman. And then when I was, 12 years old or whatever, 10 years old, American Werewolf in London came out to the movie theaters. Another groundbreaking werewolf film. Now, let's talk about this. There's not that many werewolf movies. There are a million vampire movies. There's even a lot of Frankenstein-type movies. Golems, zombies, werewolves, not that many. Don't Go on the Moors. What other werewolf movies? Dog Soldiers, my buddy Ryan, I don't know if you're watching, Battle Buddy, he brought that up today. That's a pretty cool movie. But it's a genre that's not really tooled around with much. It's not as creative as, say, the vampire genre. Werewolves have become lackeys to vampires. That's what it would seem. Like if you watch What We Do in Shadows, the TV show and the film, that would be the werewolves are the lackeys on that. They show up once in a while, right? Hey, Jimmy D in the house. Thank you for that donation. Means a lot. Grazie. Bada bing. Bada boom. So, I don't remember reading werewolf books when I was a kid. I remember reading Dracula stories and vampire stories and all that kind of stuff. So, I didn't have... Oh! You know what I remember as a child? Werewolves. You remember this? What movie's this? Remember the face bubbling? Remember what movie that was? That was The Howling. Remember the scene where the guy transforms in that? Okay, I kind of liked that when I was a kid, but nothing like American Werewolf in London, nothing like The Wolfman. At an early age, I realized that the werewolf thing was interesting too because some of them you turn into a man with a hairy face and you're running around on two legs. And some of them you literally turn into just a wolf. And some of them, like American Werewolf in London, my favorite style of werewolf, you turn into a new thing. You're not a man anymore. You're on all fours. You don't look like a dog. You don't look like a wolf. You look like a monster. And American Werewolf in London, if you look, his body's awkward. The face, the way the teeth are, they like overlap like this. It's a monster. It's not a an animal we would know. The other thing is how the werewolf is perceived not as a cool, healthy thing. It's in all of these movies. It's something like a curse that happens to you that it's out of control, which is why I think a lot of it's not as creative with how people handle the werewolf. If I think of a werewolf, I think of a person who has this thing where they turn into an animal and they're out of control. They're just wild. There's no like conscious, it's like the Hulk, he just rages, and then they invented Smart Hulk. Right? Does anybody else have a different experience with werewolves as children? I was fascinated, but not nearly like the vampire, or a witch, for instance. But the werewolf is always there. When you see all the monster archetypes, we got Mr. Lycanthropy. So let's dig this out. I did a bunch of research in the last few weeks on elements of the werewolf phenomena that I was a little unsure of, and I found some wacky stuff that I'm going to share with you. Also, if you stay tight, tonight I'm going to talk about some hardcore acting exercises for theater performers. If you're an actor, a performer, if you're a little kid watching, you're going to dig this. I have a thing that you can do, an acting exercise, and at the end, we're going to talk literally about what it means to change into a werewolf for real, and I'm not kidding. So, werewolf, werewolf, were in the ancient Germanic tongues means man, and wolf, you know what that means, obviously. Same with lycanthropy. That's the Greek-y version. So check this out. The werewolf legend, as we know it, it's a Proto-Indo-European piece of mythology. And from what I gather, there were pagan cults that used some sort of transformative ritual as an initiation, most likely for the hunters. Which makes absolute sense. I don't know if anybody here has ever gone officially hunting. And when I mean hunting, I mean you have a gun and you're going in the woods and you're going to shoot an animal, prepare it, and eat it. That's what I mean. I've done this many times. And I will tell you, when you walk into the woods with the intent to kill another animal and eat it, you're not the same as a hiker. No. And anybody that tells you that it's the same thing is crazy. You literally go into a different mindset. Your vision, your hearing, your smell, it changes. And so it makes sense that if you're a group of hunters and you're going to go get a new guy, you're going to do some sort of maybe a ritual or an embodiment of what it means to be a part of this system of hunting, which is very animalistic. So that's where they think it started, and it makes sense. It doesn't seem weird at all. You're imitating this thing, this animal. You're embodying it for the purpose of gaining insight, wisdom, and the special abilities that a wolf might have. Ah, there you go, Talon. You know what hunting is, right? You'll admit it. When you hunt, you're not as same as a normal, like for me, a New Yorker walking down the street. You have a different, It's funny, they always say the reason why they have hunting, most hunter accidents or deaths, I should say, are from hunters having heart attacks. Because, Hunter Bill is busy eating food all week, and then all of a sudden he's hunting, and when you hunt, your heart rate goes crazy. It goes from nothing to like pounding hard. It's interesting. Which you feel like an animal ready to kill. Why? Because you are doing that. So it makes sense. There are Greek references to werewolves. There are Asian references. It's part of our humanity, right? To reflect us as an animal. Now, let's get a little farther in history from these pagan cults. Let's go to like some medieval times where monotheism, Christendom, has taken hold. Now, when you witness the pagan cult or you hear about it, take a guess what it sounds like. It sounds like the devil, full on. It fits right in line with what you've been taught about the devil, which is why the werewolf phenomena got looped into the witch trial phenomena. Yes, especially in Germany. The people of the Middle Ages really did believe werewolves were real. Yeah, it was a thing. It was a thing. So yeah. Here's the other thing: there were wolves in Europe back then. Lots. It seems to me that the wolves in Europe were like how we look at sharks. They're there. They don't kill people all the time, and they don't really bite people all the time, but they do. But the threat of them is great. People like, think of how people like are afraid of sharks. I surf. Do you know how many people go, are there sharks? And I go, yes, lots of them, and there's great whites. They freak out. And I'm like, dude, you're in the water. Everything's there within a few hundred feet. I don't care where you are, you know? So, yeah. So the wolves are in Europe. And they do bite people occasionally. They do eat the livestock and the sheep. And what that's, you know, it's a Little Red Riding Hood. So in the Middle Ages, a human turning into one was real, okay? Now, here's where it gets wacky. In 1589, folks. Oh! Anybody ever hear of... I can't believe this isn't a film. Anybody out there's a writer or a filmmaker or a producer? Write this word down, or this name. Peter Stump. Such an unassuming name. Peter Stump was known as the Werewolf of Bedburg. Oh my, we have to get this one right. 1589, I believe. Folks, wait till you hear this. Peter Stump. I took a lot of notes on this guy. Peter Stump, under torture of the rack, which ain't fun. I don't have to have it done to me to know it's not fun. He admitted to killing 14 kids. One of them was his own son. 2 pregnant women, and there was some incest stuff going on with his daughters, or we won't go there. And he said the devil gave him a belt that made of wolf skin that turned him into the werewolf, that made him do all these killings. They put him to death on the wheel. I don't know if you know what that is. They like strap you on a wheel. They tore away his flesh in 10 places with hot pincers. They broke his limbs with a blunt axe, and then they beheaded him and burned his daughters and his mistress. Pretty shocking. They just got rid of the guy, right? Bad man, serial killer. Well, it seems like the werewolf thing was an easy way to explain a serial killer. It made it more than the devil. It was like, if it was like the devil made him do it, it's like the devil making a human do these things. But if it's the devil turning you into a monster, a wolf, and then you're doing it, it's like separate a bit. It's a little more easy to digest, maybe. I don't know. I'm guessing on that. But it would seem such. Peter Stump, the Wolf of Bedburg. That's a horror film in the making, folks. Really neat story. Okay. Yes, he did eat people. Yes. Yeah, he killed them and ate them. And I mean, I'm leaving out some of the gory details here, but the guy was clearly off his rocker. He was the Jeffrey Dahmer type. Think about how easy it was to get away with being Jeffrey Dahmer in the 1500s without any forensic evidence, without communication, without surveillance. Very easy. So I find that story pretty fascinating. So my understanding of that, right? You understand it. We can hear these legends and this mythology, And it fits into the pantheon of all the other mythological things that we know about. Right? It's not a shocking deal. I mean, the story about him being a serial killer is shocking, but it makes sense. And it makes sense that they would lump it in with the witch trial thing because it's something that's hard to prove. One of the things they said they would do, here, this is interesting. They had some methods to tell if you were a werewolf. Now, a lot of you are going to know people with these. You might check. Should maybe do a little research on it. They might be an actual werewolf. Unibrow. I have a studio audience here. Yeah, a unibrow, right? That was a werewolf. Like, hey, you better check him out. Here's one that's creepy. If you cut their skin a little bit, you can see a little bit of fur under the flesh. That's terrifying. Curved fingernails. Oh, here's one the Russians said. They said, under the tongue, you would have bristles. Ugh. Here we go. This is a Swedish legend I found. This is hilarious. Who thought this up? The Swedes thought that you can tell it's a werewolf because it runs on 3 legs. Werewolves don't have tails because they're humans turning into wolves. So what they do to trick people is they put their other leg in the air so it looks like a tail. Who the hell thought that up? That's insane. It's ridiculous. It sounds like a drunk guy came up with that. All right, so, and here's some of the, of course, legends. How to turn into a werewolf. Well, Satan gave, what's his name here, a belt. Peter Stump. One of them is the moonlight, of course. We know that from the films. The other one is drinking rainwater from a wolf footprint. Okay, that sounds fun. And there's always some sort of satanic allegiance too in the Middle Ages versions. Something like the witches, same thing. They met on a crossroads. They made a deal with the devil, and lo and behold, they're able to do this. Now, the thing I don't get is it would seem that when they turn into a wolf, you're out of control. So it's not why would you make friends with the devil for him to then give you a power that's going to get you in crazy trouble because you have absolutely no power over it, which is what it is. Cooking with Satan in here, which is a great name. Cooking with Satan, Josh Mosh. Do you have a cooking show? He says, if your fingers are the same length. Oh, that was also an identifier. Oh, cool. So if you had like really weird, like flat looking fingers that went straight across. There you go. Werewolf fingers. Like a claw. It's cute. It's kind of cute. Yeah. So how did I get interested in this as anything remotely serious? Well, other than a few things. And it's going to lead to where this all goes for the end. First of all, as a child, of course I played dress up. Of course I transformed into all sorts of wondrous monsters and vampires and creatures. Of course I imitated American Werewolf in London. And if you haven't seen American Werewolf in London in a while, go watch it. It's got a wonderful transformation scene. Really great detail. Nobody comes close. I do like the remake of The Wolfman that came out. I don't love it. I like elements of it. I do like that transformation scene too. They used CG to clean up the edges, but they used a lot of makeup. I discovered an essay, which I'm going to read parts of it on. Oh, God, I can't wait to get into this stuff. I hope we have... Oh, yeah, good. We got time. So here we go. I found a book when I was a kid, and now I'm going to move some things around here. I'm going to move Lon Chaney over here. Hi, Lon Chaney. Lon Chaney Jr., I should say. Here's the book. This is the first pressing. Bingo. Secret Life of a Satanist, the autobiography of Anton Szandor LeVay by Blanche Barton. This is the biography of Dr. LeVay. This is the reprint. It's Feral House Publishing. Is it Feral House? Yes. And it's the revised edition. So this new edition has... Oh, yeah, I did say The Howling. Yeah, Howling's got the cool makeup effect. So these books... It's Blanche. It's a wonderful book. Blanche is basically telling his story. You know, it starts off with his early years and his carnival and the circus and all the way to the Church of Satan stuff. And it's his biography. But there are some hidden gems in it. And I'm going to show you. In the back, I remember when I read this book when it came out. Not this edition, the other edition. There's an essay on the back. It just said, How to Become a Werewolf. The fundamentals of lycanthropic metamorphosis, their principles, and their applications. And I'm not going to, even though it's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's 5 pages long. I'm not going to read it all. I want you to buy the book. If you don't have this book, get it. It's a fun read. And the essays in the back that Anton LeVay wrote, there's a few. They're worth their weight in gold right here. It's really good stuff. So I'm going to read a little bit, just a little bit, to give you a little bit of what he's getting at here on what it means to literally turn into a werewolf. He writes, anyone is a potential werewolf. Under emotional stress, civilized human qualities regress to basic animal reaction, and a threshold of potential physical change is really and a threshold of potential physical change is reached. Now here's where this is interesting. It quickly, as you read this little essay, you realize he's not joking around. He's going to be playing with some ideas, which, here's the warning, this show contains ideas, viewpoints, and subjects of taboo nature that might offend and stimulate an infectious doubt. A wonder to behold awaits. I always tell people that about my shows. Well, I'm going to say it right now about this. He has a system here that creates a psychodrama transformation of a human to a beast. And I'll tell you right now, it's not for everybody. Okay? I could see this making somebody go nuts. And it's funny because it's based on games kids play. Okay? Now, here's the part of this that blows my mind. Because you go, who would do this? Who would do this ritual to turn into a werewolf? What kind of a kook? I know we have someone here right now. Well, you're looking at one right here. When I was in high school, I used to mess around with psychodrama all the time. And this is interesting. People who normally behave in a coarse, boorish manner would be thought to be bordering on an animal state, hence making a complete transition effortless. Right? Makes sense. Well, he says, this is a fallacy. For churls is a word nobody uses anymore, lowlifes. For churls consider themselves as humans and the highest, most noble form of life. They are almost animals all of the time, so they dare not go over the brink, for that would be abhorrent. Wow. Do you realize what he's saying? He said, no, one who has only risen to the curbstone dares not to return to the gutter. Only the higher man can metamorphose. His ego will allow him to go all the way. That's pretty interesting. He's saying that, basically he's saying the dummies won't actually go through with this, because they think of themselves as not an animal to the highest form. Whereas the smart guy goes, you're right, I've worked very hard to get to where I am, but I do see the benefits of us being a human and an animal, which is what he was always teaching. Now, he breaks it down in this essay. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I want to whet your appetite, so the ones that don't have this book, go get it, because it is kind of fun. He basically says to do this, there's a few things that have to happen. First, you need to find an environment to do it. You're a layer of sorts, right? And according to him, Yeah, this has to be an area where you can kind of repeatedly go to this area and kind of freak out, okay? Without anybody watching or bothering you. Okay, yeah, he gets into really crazy detail here. But now he says, and this is where it gets interesting, and I'm going to switch my notes because I've made a whole bunch of notes here. Now, I call this the LeVay experiment because it is definitely an experiment. Where did I write this one down? Oh, here we go. This is good. Peter. He's saying that it takes sex, sentiment, and wonder for this to actually happen. Okay. So when I was in high school, I was already doing fear experiments, which is what this is. It's an experiment in fear. So I would find places that I was afraid to be and force myself to be there. And guess what? That's what he says to do in this book. That's what little kids do. You remember Bloody Mary, come and get me in the mirror 13 times, spin around, ring the bell, whatever. That's what this is. He's telling you to go to this area and feel like almost like a victim. You show up to your special area and you get there and you feel like a victim. You're like scared to be there, but you tolerate it to a certain point and then you go home. In the essay, he's saying if you keep doing this, you get addicted to it. You get a little bit addicted to doing this little ritual that you're doing. And then you choose the time to turn into the beast and a few things happen. You go to the spot and it says that you should have something wolf-ish, right? And he literally says this, and this is fascinating. He's like, don't get a real wolf pelt, right? He's like, make it fake. It doesn't. You don't have to use a dead animal to actually do this because if you use a fake one, yeah, he says you can better infuse it with a facsimile of the chosen animal with your own personality. You can design it. Therefore, I would say use makeup. Right? You can design it to your exact setting or however you want to look as a monstrous beast. And then, whether it be a costume, he even says make it corny, go all the way. No one's watching. As long as you feel a certain way when you look in the mirror or whatever, that's fine. Now, he says you go to the place of fear and you flip roles. You turn into the hunter. You turn into the person that's causing the fear to that once human you were. You flip the role and you literally let it embody you. You physically change right there. You feel your skin change, you look at your hands, and you imagine it all happening. I remember in high school, I had an abandoned house I used to go to, and I used to do these fear experiments. And I would force myself to stay as long as possible, and then I would run out and leave. I remember doing this exercise as best of my ability, and I remember it involved peeing, because that's what dogs do. So I thought if you pee like a dog, it helps. Just telling you. He even mentions that in here too. He says if you're an animal, you probably have to pee more often. But this gets very graphic and crazy, but when you read it, you're like, wow, this is a psychodrama exercise. Now, the thing that's not in here are the what to do with it after. It doesn't really say, which is kind of cool. It just says, here it is, turn into a werewolf and go have fun. I'm going to talk about tonight about my version of what he wrote and how I've added things and I've learned things to make that mean something more and have a better application. And Amanda just said something right here. It says, I've directed actors to get in touch with the more animalistic senses, which is perfect for my transition. So let me just make sure here. I don't want to spoil the Anton LeVay thing because he maps out basically a system, a very specific system for turning into a werewolf, where it uses this fear exercise, which is basically a little kid's game, coupled with this role flip that you're going to do alone. Now, he also says near the end that you can do this with a partner. You can do it with another person, especially if they like being the victim. In that little game that you're going to play, that's what hide and seek is, folks. It's the same thing. There's the hunter and the victim in hide and seek. That's what it is. Notice the person hiding never gets to fight back or get the guy doing the looking. They just hide and run. It doesn't reverse often. I think there's some other versions of the game, but basically that's it. And he says that in the essay. He's like, if you can find someone if you're a masochist and you find the submissive person to play the other part, that's it. You go do that. That's great. But I actually like the solo version better. I think it has more meaning to you internally and transforms you internally way more because you're not showing anybody except yourself. That's why I like solo ritual. It's a magic show for you, right? So, Amanda, I'm going to chat about acting now. The whole concept of transforming into a beast, a monster, a werewolf. Well, there aren't just werewolves. There's were-rats, were-bears, were-owls. There's a were-everything. There's even were-monkeys. They're rare. And I always thought the werewolf game that LeVay wrote his article on, it's basically one of the greatest techniques to finding and channeling your spirit animal. It's way different than going, my spirit animal is this. It's like, no, I found a spirit animal. I've literally made a ritual around this spirit animal, and I'm now going to embody it on a level that you can't believe. That's kind of cool. Well, guess what I did? Freshman year at my acting school, we had an exercise. And I want to tell it to you because it was pretty wacky. So sit tight. If you're a performer or an acting teacher of any sort, and I see we have some in here, we have film directors in here and writers. I think you're going to like this a lot. So it was called the animal exercise. And this was freshman year, Carnegie Mellon, 1991. Long time ago. And the exercise was this. The first part, and I remember this pretty clearly. Find an animal at the zoo. We literally did a school field trip to the zoo. We all just went. I don't know if we went as a group. Some of us did. It was easier because we didn't live near the zoo. Pittsburgh Zoo. And they said, find an animal that's different than you. Meaning, I'm kind of jumpy and move around a lot and talk with my hands. Find something that's maybe doesn't move around so much. So I was like, yeah, it makes sense. Something different than my character is normally. I feel like I'm more monkey. Like, I could do a monkey pretty easy. But a snake or an owl, right? Very different than my character. So in the zoo, I found an animal that was so boring that it fascinated me, and that was the lizards, and that was like the iguana. I found this one iguana that all day literally would do that most of the day. And I was like, bam. So our goal was to observe the animal for one full afternoon. I think I was there for a good 4 or 5 hours. Watch them move, everything you can, write it down, take notes, because you are going to imitate this thing. So I would watch this lizard sit there, and it had a food bowl, and it would go. I mean, it literally would do that once an hour, and occasionally it would walk, and it just was Mr. Awkward. And I didn't know what to think of it other than, all right, I'm going to imitate this as best I can, and in its stillness, it's going to be hard to pull off. Then we went to class, and we did the animals. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The goal was to take that animal and to organically turn it into a living, breathing human being with a whole backstory and a life. And they didn't really tell you how to do this. They wanted to see what your process was. So I took this character, this lizard, and he became this little boy. I forget how old he was. He was probably like 10. And I remember the kid he was kind of autistic. He not autistic, but he had a problem communicating, which I think is one of the forms of autism, is they don't have like you're missing that social cue thing, right? And I ended up creating a character that was kind of like that, and it was pre autism Asperger chatter. Like, we didn't hear that back then so much. I don't remember hearing it at all. And so this kid had a nervous habit where he had candy and he would eat it, right? And so I turned it into this little kid, pretty sweet, raised by his grandparents. I don't remember his name. I have a notebook that has it all. And after you develop this living, breathing human being, the final project was you attend a party in character. And all the other students were going to go in character, and the professors were going to be there at the party too, hosting the party. Now, we had our acting classes at Carnegie Mellon. I believe they were 4 days a week, 4 hours a day. They were very long classes. And I remember working on this for months, and I remember the party. At the party, I showed up like this little kid, and we're all college students and professors. And I was a little kid at the party. So naturally, I found the other little kids at the party. And we became if you go to a Christmas party and there's kids that are 10, they all gang up and they're running around the house or wherever it's at together as a little group while the adults do their thing. That's what happened at the party. It ended up being very realistic. And I remember we weren't even at the party most of the time. We were in the hallway and in the bathroom having paper towel fights, and it was kind of awesome and very realistic. And one of the, quote, adults at the party, it was another student, Christian Borle, very fine actor, Broadway actor now, Willy Wonka in the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory musical. He was at the party in character as an adult, and he took it upon himself to kind of be the Pied Piper for the kids. So we're playing, and he's just there with us playing, and we had the party, and it was done. There was food, and we hung out, and we had the party. Now we get the critique. This is where you get graded. And they're going to critique you on your character at the party, and also they were watching your development, right? And part of the character was we all had to have a secret. And to be quite honest, I don't remember what my character's secret was. I can figure it out. I'm going to go find my notebooks. I don't think my secret was anything too serious. I remember he was raised by his grandparents and his parents weren't alive or something. Well, one of the things we heard about at the party that was actually kind of shocking was the guy at the party that was our Pied Piper adult hanging out with the kids told the group that he was a pedophile after the party. He was like, yeah, that was my secret. We were like, oh, it was actually really shocking and like, ugh. But very realistic. And that's what that exercise was about. And I really remember as an actor then, it was real. I remember living in character for many days for a role once. I mean, we did crazy stuff like that in college. We went far. The funny thing is, I was doing that kind of stuff in my daily life already for fun. It had nothing to do with theater. It was just me. I don't think my classmates were doing it in their daily life like I was. I had different reasons for doing the things. And so seeing that in school and then reading these essays like The Werewolf, it all started to come together. We had another exercise that I'd like to talk about quickly that you're going to love. Another transforming exercise. We had in movement theater mask work. Now, a lot of the ancient rituals where they're transforming into either A, a wolf, or B, they're letting a demon possess them, involves a mask. If you study any ancient culture, masks were very important for ritual. Greek, African, Asian, European, they all have masks. So one of the exercises we learned was neutral man. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of neutral man. Basically, you wear all black, which I'm used to. And you wear a very neutral, brownish colored mask, no expression. And in that mask, you do things. Pantomime. Drink water, walk, pick apples, simple things. And your class observes you and writes notes of every character trait they can see. For me, I lead with my head when I walk. I have lots of character traits. The way my hands move around. The things that you would do to imitate somebody, right? Once they identify them, then you lose them. You learn how to be a blank slate. And you become neutral man. No character traits. Very... you're showing no character. You're generic as generic, right? You're picking cups up, showing no character. Then, after you've mastered neutrality, then you get a new mask that has a bigger nose, a different shape of the head. And you look at it, and you let it possess you. And then you put it on, and you let that face change who you are. I found this stuff wonderful. It's what I was looking for. It's everything I wanted out of theater and couldn't find anywhere, and still can't. We learned all of these great experimental techniques and things to tap into your subconscious to unleash this artistic thing that you very rarely see in any performance arts at all. It's sad. And those things that we were learning are what connect it to magic. Black magic. Real magic. That's the bridge, is taking it to that place, that internal place. So, of course, I take these werewolf rituals seriously because I do believe you can change things from internal change. So why would you want to be a werewolf? Well, I was thinking on a few terms. So let's say you do the exercise. And I'm going to tell everybody out there, go ahead. I give you the warning. I hope you're not crazy. I hope you're able to, in this situation, no matter how far you feel like a werewolf, you're able to have this sliver of reality. And you never take it far. You never go past that far of harm. Why? Because it would be pointless. The whole thing would be pointless. Check this out. Here's where it gets interesting. Well, it would seem that the ancients, the reason why they wanted to channel the animal is for power. Animal power. A fighting power. Like a berserker. There's a group called, there was a group, let me see if I found their name. There was another group of berserker types. And they, oh, here we go. What are they called? I have their name here. They were a type of warrior, and they did a wolf ritual. So they wanted to be as violent as a wolf, right? Which, if you're going to go to war and kill people, that might be a good thing to have. If you're not going to go to war and kill people, I don't know if you need to go there. But there might be, which I want to talk about. When I was in high school and I did the ritual in the abandoned house, I did it for the thrill of it all. It was a roller coaster ride. Of course I was in high school and experimenting with weird stuff. That's what high school kids do. And here I am with an occult book that says you can turn into a werewolf. Heck yeah. And it's doing it in a theatrical manner, a psychodrama manner. I'm in. I'm doing it. I want to see what happens. Okay, someone just asked a question. Is there possibility of the werewolf ritual changing aspects of your personality permanently? I would answer that absolutely yes. Hopefully for the better, which is what I'm going to talk about right now. Yeah, why bother? Why would you do this? If it is going to change you permanently, why would you do this? Well, for me, if you look at this as two things, it's a self-help tool, which we'll talk about what it's helping. Or what if we look at this as literally an emergency weapon? Okay, does anybody out here know what NLP is? I know some of you do. I am not a master. I've learned little elements of it. Rick Sherman, who's in here right now, knows a lot about NLP. He's put a lot of time and energy into studying, researching, and the applications of it. And he's taught me a lot. I've learned a lot from you, Sherman. I already do NLP things as a magician naturally. And one of the things Sherman taught me years ago that I use to this day is you sit in a chair and you close your eyes and you think of a happy place. Calm, peace, tranquility. You imagine the sights, the sounds. It's like a self-hypnosis exercise. Calm. And then, after you find it, breathe deep. I took my thumb, pushed it right on my knee in a certain spot, and thought of those happy thoughts pushing on my knee. Now, wait a day and push on that spot. And take a guess what it does. It reminds you of the place. It's in NLP they call them anchors. You just made an anchor. When you push the button on your leg, I have one on my wrist. If you push in here, I literally get calm. Is it because it's a pressure point, or I have assigned it as my pressure point? I don't know, but it works. This one works too. If I'm a little panicky, I'll push on my leg. Make me immediately think of my forest. I have a little image I put in my head. What if we combine that with the werewolf ritual and we turn it literally into werejitsu? A button that you hit when you need to go ape. I mean, crazy all the way, right? In a life or death situation. Now, I've had in my life or death situations. I've been in fights. I've been in fights where I thought I could get killed. I've been mugged with guns. I've had the whole thing happen. And when you're in those life or death situations, you do sometimes need to be scary and turn into an animal. And I think this actually really would work. When I was a kid, if I had to get into a fist fight, I fought dirty and scary. I went that route. Like eye gouge, spit in the face punch, like stuff like that. Why? Because I'm smaller than a lot of guys. I might be strong, but I don't have the reach or, the height advantage. It's like I needed to show that I am literally the guy that will go too far, so you might not want to fight me. To me, that was my technique. Well, what if you do have a button on your body that you hit it and you literally start foaming at the mouth? That's pretty cool. Very Jekyll and Hyde, but ritualistically decided to be such. That's very different than the uncontrolled Jekyll and Hyde. I look at this as a master spirit animal exercise. What if you chose a different animal? Like I was thinking today, I like bats because they're flying mammals. They're the highest form. There's also a wide variety of bats. They've handled evolution quite well. You could choose the bat. Do all of the research on the bat, the qualities that you like, the things, formulate it, do the ritual, turn into a bat, really live and feel it, and create some sort of bat anchor point that when you hit it, it enables you to embody these characteristics. When you are in a sporting event, when you're getting attacked by a mugger, when you're in bed, whatever it may be. There's a million reasons for this, but why not do this? This is better than taking a drug. It's you're hacking yourself. You're rewiring yourself to how you want to do it. So the question, is it possible to change you permanently from doing these werewolf exercises? Yes. Now, if you are doing an exercise involving werewolves, then if you're going that far to a taboo thing, I think you're going to be mostly okay. And you're probably going to be doing it, A, for the thrill, or B, because you're doing what I'm saying. You're going to make it a self-help exercise. I think if you talk about it, write down your goals, yeah, this is great. You're going to pick things that are cool and not stupid, of course. How about this? Let's talk about psychodrama clinical. Now, Now, clinical psychodrama, like literally doctors doing this. What I'm talking about. I looked it up the other day. I looked up what are the qualifications to getting the actual clinical psychodrama certificate. You need to go to school. I mean, school. You need a Bachelor of Science. You need a master's. And then after you have your psychology master's, like if you got a bachelor in psychology and a master's in theater, this would be a great thing to then pursue, because now you're a legal, you can say, I am a professional psychotherapist. I mean, a professional psychodrama therapist, meaning you use a tested system of psychodrama to help people. And I looked this up. This is really interesting. Psychodrama was created, I think in the 50s, Jacob L. Moreno, early 60s. And it's role-playing theater used for health benefits, personal problems, whatever. It's okay. Now this is what the guy thought, and this is neat: spontaneity and creativity. This is what Jacob Moreno thought about psychodrama, and this applies to werewolves. Listen, the best way for an individual to respond creatively to a situation is through spontaneity. That is the readiness to improvise and respond at the moment. All right, so through my studies, and this is not what I read, but I'm sure if you keep reading, it's in there. The way someone responds is where it all lies on the clinical end. So if I'm and I'm not a doctor, and I didn't study any of this, I'm coming from a theater guy point of view. If you're a doctor and you give somebody a role exercise, like, okay, let's say there's an abuse. Someone's getting abused, psychologically or physically, and the person getting abused is going to play act a scene. Maybe in the scene they're the abuser, maybe they're an observer, and two other people are going to play those parts. How they react and respond to me is going to say a lot to how they're going to get better, right? So if the guy being abused is now playing the abuser in the exercise, how he behaves like the abuser is going to tell me how he views the abuser. And now I'm going to be able to assess what that guy might need to do or talk about or play act. It makes absolute sense. I'm not a clinical psychologist, but I guarantee you I would be able to do a little bit of it just from my own way of how I do my business, because I use the same technique all the time, all day. I do that. I'm not a clinical psychologist, but I'm able to look and read how people respond to certain things, especially in a creative... here we go. So this dude here has a PhD in psychology. So do you know about... Okay, yeah. Oh, yes. Okay. So we have some... Folks, look at the comments. We have somebody that actually knows about what I'm talking about. I don't, and I'm making some assumptions. But me being able to read people is based in this. I can watch how someone acts creatively and tell a whole heck of a lot about how they're going to deal with something. Jose, am I out of my league here saying what I just said, right? By how they literally, creatively, spontaneously play act the bad guy that they're against, but they're going to now play the bad guy. You can tell a whole heck of a lot right there, right? It just seems like a really good idea. Now, take it from that context, and now make it you in charge of the whole process. You get rid of the doctor, you get rid of the observers, you get rid of the other people playing the parts, and it's all you. That's kind of cool. And that's what the werewolf experiment is. In my opinion, the best way to go about it. I wrote here some things. Wow, this is so cool. I love this stuff, folks. Why? Why would you want to turn into a werewolf? 1, fighting power. I'm being very general now, okay? Oh, here. Thank you, Jose. He says I'm correct. Okay, thank you. I didn't want to say something that's completely on left field, so I'm in the right field. It says, they learn coping skills and self-esteem. Clearly, that's it. I don't think I need to go to school to teach that. I'm pretty good at it. I just don't understand maybe some of the science on the psychology end, which would help, obviously. Clearly would help. So why would you want to become a werewolf? Well, a better fighter. If you could go and just like attack somebody, that's awesome. To cause fear. Yeah. What if you didn't have to fight? You could just go and show fangs and your claws are longer, right? That would be cool. How about this? To connect with the good qualities of the animal. Okay. As a way to embrace your inner animal, and then to rise above it as a superhuman that can control it whenever he wants. Okay. Transformation into the new you that understands where his beast lies, knows where it is, and knows how to hit the button to turn it on. And, most importantly, knows where the button is to turn it off. I keep pointing at my legs like there's a control panel. To me, this is where it all lies. You need to figure out why. If it's just for fun, sure, but I think you should pick a couple reasons why. If you are going to do this and try it. The fighting power one to me is still real too, and to cause fear. If people know that you can literally turn into a werewolf, and what if you're so good at the psychology of how this all works that, like the Shadow, you know the superhero The Shadow, you're able to make other people see you as a werewolf. That's a different power. Yeah, that's another way to look at it. What if there is no transformation, but you are literally able to frame things in a manner that makes everybody else reframe it in that manner? Therefore, seeing things the way you're seeing them. What's that? That's my new way of looking at some of this witchy stuff. It's a frame game. Ooh, I'm going to write that down. The frame game. That's a cool one. The frame game. Framing things in a manner that is so powerful to you that it transforms your circle. Somebody here wrote, bipolar mania feels a lot like this werewolf stuff. Difference is you can't turn you can't turn it off. Well, okay. So mental disorders is where also, which I didn't say earlier, but I thought it was obvious, but it should be pointed out, is where a lot of these legends come from. Possession, lycanthropy, vampirism. You know, if somebody has a mental disorder, we all know people that have these things happen. It's pretty shocking. And if you put it in the context of medieval times with a lack of knowledge of anything, I mean, really, they didn't know a lot back then. Germs and disease, they didn't understand this stuff. You now have a dangerous cocktail. I really think that this is a legit thing. I don't think it's a joke. I think that doing a werewolf ritual, whether it be casual or not casual, definitely has merit. Like I said, kids do these things all the time. They play act. This is how they learn. This is why I can't stand it when I see parents that don't like it when their kids play act in violent manners. Or if I'm playing a role-playing game and the kids do really bad things in the game. They're like, I'm taking concern. There's murder and bloodshed. The kids in my Dungeons and Dragons are drinking alcohol in the game. And people get upset by it. And I'm like, don't you see? They're experimenting in a manner that's healthy. It's play acting. It's where they can question morality. You know, I've had in Dungeons and Dragons games, kids do things Well, they're randomly killing things, and eventually they realize it's bad. And they learned it through doing it in the game. Why is this bad? Why isn't this as great? Don't you want people to do this there and not there? I'll bring up another little thing I thought was mind-blowing. When my son was in elementary school, they had a very awakened school that banned in their art class. Well, first of all, my son didn't like art class. Now, when you're an artist and your kid comes home and says, I don't like art class, there's a problem. Why? That's everybody's favorite class. Well, I find out they had rules. Things you can't draw. Can't draw anything violent. No guns. No swords. No violence. So I went into school. I met with the teachers. I met with the principal at the time. I met with the art teacher. And I was like, well, first of all, what if I'm a soldier and he's drawing a picture of me with the rifle? Or what if I'm a cop? He has to leave the gun out of the picture? And they were like, well, we didn't think of that. Maybe you should. Here's where it gets weird. I said, well, what if my son's disturbed and his only way of saying he's disturbed or voicing his anguish or fear of death or whatever is an art class on that paper? You don't want him to do that anymore, do you? Well, I didn't think of it that way. Maybe you should think a little more if you're a teacher. So I think that these exercises done in a healthy manner. And when I say a healthy manner, I'm meaning a non-theistic approach. This is my problem with character-driven theism. That's a funny way to write it. Deities that people take seriously. And I mean literally like they believe there's a guy floating and he's able to control things. Or a girl or an animal. It's because the off button becomes gray and hard to find. And that's why the version of occult science that I appreciate comes from an atheistic point of view. A point of view that says, hey, humans do these things for a reason. We like to connect to animals and have ever since our pagan early human days. And it's an important part of who we are as humans. It's a way for us to reflect on the difference between us and an animal. We're very different than a chimp or a dolphin. We have a new cortex rolling the system here, okay? The neocortex, right? So don't you... Oh, wait, we got some good stuff here. Oh, here. We have a real doctor in here now going off, and you guys should read this, okay? This is why I like my crowd. We have smart people in here. Thank you for all this stuff in here. I'm going to go read all this later. I think that these expressions are healthy. And if you take out the theistic approach and you look at it as pure logic and reason, yes, these things have merit. You know, rituals and reflecting on nature in a playful manner is very healthy. And I do believe we're animals. I do believe we have animalistic instincts that are healthy and need to be exercised and not, as Dr. LeVay said, exorcised. They need worked out. They're not going anywhere. You might think they are, but they're not. And evolution hasn't really gotten us out of that yet. And I always thought it was funny that the monotheistic religions are trying to separate us from that animal. And I think they're doing it in the unhealthy way, by denial and cutting it off. Instead of embracing, accepting, having fun with it in a playful manner that is productive. That's what I'm getting at. And that's why I think you should all turn into werewolves. Did you guys enjoy this tonight? Because I certainly did. I had a solid group of people. A lot of quiet tonight. I mean, we had Jose in here doing his science, which I'm going to read here in a second. But we had a quiet audience, which means I'm guessing you guys were listening. Please chime in. You guys are too quiet. We have a huge group in here watching. Yeah, we're always evolving. I love the transition species. When people go, we're the transition species. It's like, you're one. Everybody's a transition. I really, if you're new, hit that subscribe button. Hit the notify. Because when I hit 1,000 subscribers and I actually start monetizing more, I have road trips planned that you're not going to believe. Yes, Amanda, thank you. What did you guys get out of that? Did it make you want to experiment? I don't know. It makes me want to experiment. I think as soon as I turn this camera off, I'm going to get naked and go run around out. Well, not outside. They'll call the cops. I'm going to get naked and run around the house and howl at the moon. Speaking of howling at the moon, watch American Werewolf in London and listen to the werewolf howl. It's a superior one. The werewolf howl I remember in the new Wolfman that Universal put out, which was, it's okay. There are parts I remember the werewolf howl being lame. So everybody, here we got Sean. Thank you. Okay, well, there you go. Thank you, Sean. I'm glad that you feel that way. Yeah, do a ritual, folks. Kids, if you're a kid watching, when I was a little kid, I loved designing weird rituals. Whether it be a show that I would just do in my room for myself, or I literally would come up with some sort of poetic ceremony where I would write out a poem and light candles and read it to the universe. I think it's a healthy thing. I think it's healthy to do it alone, your way. It's theater for you. And the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it, is how I always thought of it. If you're new to this channel, this is Behind the Devil's Curtain. And this is where I take sleight of hand, trickery, psychology. I mix it with forbidden knowledge and mythology, and we get real magic that's transformative. I hope I gave you stuff to think about. I'm trying to make these episodes so meaty that when you're done, you go watch a bunch of videos or start doing your own research. To me, the best things you learn just make you want to learn more. That's it. When I read my philosophy books, I put them down and start going nuts on other things. To me, that means you're doing the right thing and that you're reading the right things. So if I'm spawning you guys to go do stuff, boom, I'm happy as a lark. Thank you, everybody. I'm getting a lot of very nice comments. Thank you. I have many episodes I'm working on. Behind the Devil's Curtain is my flagship show that I'm the most proud of. It's the subject matter I like talking about the most. It's the world I actually live in, and it's my lifestyle. And I present it here for you. I've been working on the next episode, and I think I'm going to reveal the title tonight. Well, I revealed it online the other day. One of my hobbies that I've had ever since I was a kid, there it is I love reading Bible stories and dissecting them. I like dissecting them on the morals, the moral teachings, and I like dissecting what really happened, or where did this story come from? Where did they borrow this story? And believe me, they're borrowed stories. The name of the next episode is called Warlord Moses and Other Fine Tales. Warlord Moses. And this is the episode where I'm going to explore a couple of Bible stories that people don't usually talk about. I'm going to talk about the story of Abraham and its moral implications. I'm also going to talk about Moses and the genocides he committed. And I'm also going to talk about a taboo subject, the slavery that's in the Torah and the slavery that's mentioned in the New Testament in detail. And I mean crazy detail. We're going to go way deep. And that is a taboo subject for a lot of people. So, yeah. Oh, dude, you found the right show, man. Tell your friends, tell your family. This show ain't no joke. I put a lot of time and effort, and I'm very proud of it. And I'm proud of my audience, that I have a really thoughtful, smart crowd that gives me suggestions that turn into tonight's episode. So, y'all, thank you very much. So if you like this kind of stuff, hit that subscribe button, hit the like and the notify. I'm just over 600. I thought getting to 1,000 was going to be a little quicker. I'm going to be honest. It was moving. It was like, and then it started to slow down. It's so hard. They literally put roadblocks on these channels to get you to make it a little harder now. So Jose, he says he was raised Jewish. Okay. So you have an interesting take on this, which when I do my Moses episode, please watch. You're going to love it. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh dude, we got great people in here. Someone's message was retracted. You must have used a swear word. I do have it set to cut out the swear words, even though I do swear sometimes. I try not to. It's weird. The way the algorithms are working, man, they're going to make it where some of this stuff's really mandatory and like creepy. It's Friday night. Raise a glass to, where's my fake beer? Tonight I'm drinking Stump Jump, which is the Athletic Brewing Company's. They have all these different no alcohol beers that are outrageously good. I'm going to raise a glass tonight. It's Friday night. This is to all the weirdos out there that like this stuff. Cheers. Hail life. Cheers to life. Cheers to all the mysteries we'll never know and all the mysteries we will figure out. My name is Cardone. You guys are watching Behind the Devil's Curtain, Episode 7, Lessons in Lycanthropy. Hit that like button, and I'll see you on the next episode. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, there's one on this channel. And, yeah, why is my mouse not working? Party on, Wayne.